Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this episode of Crash the Canvas. I am your host, David Mitchell, aka Dirty Mitch, and as you heard, pomp and circumstance for the Macho Man Randy Savage, that's the shirt that I wore on day 6 of the Busted Open T-shirt challenge. Also, though, on a sad note, this week we lost another one as Leaping Lanny Poffo, the genius, the brother of the late great Randy Macho Man Savage, passed away at the age of 68. Thoughts and prayers go out to his family and loved ones and anybody affected by the passing of Leaping Lanny Poffo. He was an awesome worker, was great on the mic, way ahead of his time. I heard the guys on Busted Open Radio talking, about him this week. His character of the poems, right? They wouldn't get over today. Man, he was one of a kind. The one thing I did like is Dave LaGreca had replayed a piece of an interview that he and Mark Henry had did with Lanny Poffo some years ago. And it was awesome. But the thing that stuck out to me about that interview was what he said about Hulk Hogan. Because anybody that knows about Randy, they know, the history with Randy and Hulk Hogan, right? And he said that he'll forever be indebted in his career to Hulk Hogan because at one point, I forget what year it was, but he was the top heel for about 4 months. The genius, right? Is that we're going after him and Mr. Perfect. We're going after Hulk Hogan, right? And he said he main evented Madison Square Garden 4 times because of Hulk Hogan. So Godspeed to the family of Leaping Lanny Poffo, and heaven just gained another wrestler. Now on to a man. How do we keep going from the Royal Rumble, right? Got NXT Vengeance Day replay playing on the background. But as you know, we're on the road to WrestleMania. And the theme right now is Tease the Treats, right? Tease the Treat. What you're saying, what is the analogy of Tease the Treats? If you were listening to Busted Open Radio this morning, if you wasn't, I don't know why you weren't. But Tommy Dreamer gave a great analogy about, dogs, and you're trying to get their attention and reel them in from outside or get them to do something. And he spoke about his dogs, which was ironic because mine are the same way. Jiggle that treat bag and you've got their attention, right? But I got to call in with that analogy. Real quickly, I'm going to play that clip, and then I'll explain to you why I think the WWE, what they're doing with us fans right now with Sami Zayn, the Bloodline, and Cody Rhodes. Listen to this clip right quick, and then I'll get right back to it. Well, we'll get to it in just a minute. I'm having some technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's try this again. Well, for some reason. Anyway, so they were talking about teasing the treats, right? And teasing. So what I think that the WWE is doing with us, what they tend to do is they have our attention. We are dialed in, right? And we are teasing the treats with the dogs, right? So they're teasing the treats with us with Sammy. We want Sammy. They're reeling us in. But do they give us Sammy? Do we get Cody, right? I think what it is, you're going into Elimination Chamber Montreal, right? And if I can get this to play, I will come back with my analogy. Let me try it again here. Do we have it? Oh, I know why it probably isn't. Give me just one moment. See, that's what I get for not having a producer here, right? But let me.
His tentacle, he tweeted in Spanish, Tommy. That's how committed the dude was to the gimmick, right? The main roster, obviously, to the main event of WrestleMania
level. And it's funny, like my dogs, they'll go outside, they'll be smelling.
Here we go.
And they don't want to come in. And I'll be inside and I open up their treat thing to get them to come in. Right. And here they all come. And there it could be all the way outside, or I go outside and I jiggle it. And they come running because they know they're going to get a treat. There's little things that WWE does to the viewer, to us. Like when Paul has the one-on-one, but here's how like the psychological things happen. He's outside the door. They're not letting Sammy in the door. And Paul's giving him this advice. And he's like, I'm just trying to give you some advice. I don't think, the tribal chief's going to like when people are chanting for you or chanting Sammy, just my opinion. And then you start hearing it through the live crowd. Yeah. So right then and there, they're jiggling the dog treats for the people to come out and chant for Sammy. And these are things that like, they're beautiful when they happen, but they train you. And that's part of that machine where you're like, man, I really like this guy. For some reason, I like him even more. It's because you're getting that treat.
Yeah. Yeah. The psychological elements to the story.
Just like I said yesterday with that camera angle, they had you being like, man, I just got my ass kicked and I'm looking at that guy who just kicked my ass and he's threatening me even more.
And he means
how the camera angle was set.
Right. Beautiful. The way he looms over him, to your point, right? The hulking sort of shadow. Then the visceral sort of approach and delivery that Roman had to that, it was believable. Like I said, you can keep your Uncle Howdy, you can keep your Supernatural. Give me a pissed off Samoan speaking out his chest right and directly in my face to where I'm feeling the spittle, the raindrops of spit on my face. That is absolutely terrifying. Great stuff there from you, Tommy Dreamer. Let's take another call. We got David in Wichita with some thoughts on this WrestleMania main event, this Bloodline story. What's up, David?
Not much, guys. Hey, thanks for taking my call. As always, I have a rare Saturday off and, special time of year, ready for WrestleMania. Going to be driving from Wichita to L.A. That's going to be an exciting thing to do. But, Tommy, you just alluded to something about the dogs and the treats. The crazy thing is I just did that with my dogs, right? But here's another element. What about, have you ever done this with your dogs? You're trying to get them in. You know that the treat bag is going to work, right? But then they get in and you don't give them the treat, right? What if that's kind of what they're maybe doing with Sammy? Would they jiggle the treat bag, right? We're going to Montreal. But what does WWE have a history of in Montreal with title matches? You throw that old school story in there, right? Now we go to Mania because just like the dogs, not even 5 minutes after you let them in, right, and they don't get the treat, what do? They forget all about that you didn't give them a treat, right? So now you go on to Cody, and you have this whole thing. Man, there's so many interesting stories that you could tell and not end the Bloodline story, right?
That is true. That is true. But Tommy, and to Dave's point there, and I'm so glad you brought up the dog treats, right, though? You pull that move too often, right, where you rein them back in with the treats and then you don't give it to them, right? Then they just stop believing you. Then they just start calling bullshit. You do it too often and then the dogs aren't interested. So do you think there's an issue that the WWE could run into potentially from the standpoint of, okay, we know they're going to show up, right? They're not going to not take the treat, but they might not trust you the same way again if you don't give them what they're expecting. And Tommy, the crowd is behind Sami Zayn. Again, due respect to Cody. They haven't turned on Cody yet, but that doesn't mean that it might not happen. They're doing their best to protect that from happening. I think you gave some great insight to that, I should say, Tommy. But yeah, in terms of them running the risk of, to use the treat analogy again, right? I guess the boy who cried wolf sort of analogy, right? You go to the well too many times and you don't deliver on it. Could there be ramifications for that?
Well, then I got to leave you with this before we go to commercial. Where is your bigger money? Where's your bigger box office? Is it a three-way? Is it Roman versus Sammy, the rematch? Is it Roman versus Cody? That's where you got to really, really think. Also, the biggest treat for all of us dog owners as men is when we're also go outside and pee with our dogs. And I know everybody has done that is listening to this show.
Well, to answer your question, Tommy, yes, I have on multiple occasions. That's about going outside and peeing with your dogs. But think about that, right? Think about that, right? The teasing of the treats, just like Tommy said, or just like Ryan alluded to, that might work once or twice. But what happens when we don't, right? What happens when we don't give them what they want? It's like, fuck you, right? So think about that. Okay, the crowd right now wants SAMI. What if they don't give them SAMI? It's in some capacity. Okay, yes, we're getting them an elimination chamber in Montreal. That's kind of a given, right? You know, but what about Mania? What if the fans aren't, you know, completely done with SAMI versus Roman after Montreal? What if Montreal ends? Typical Montreal, you know, WWE in Montreal, you know, a screw job, right? Do you give them Roman, Cody, and SAMI, right? Or do you just go on with plans with Cody? Because just like they said, you don't want them wanting SAMI, right? Because right now they're not hating Cody, they're loving Cody. But would they turn on? That's an interesting point Ryan brought up. Would they turn on Cody for the sake of getting more SAMI versus Roman? That is an interesting story. But if Cody is where it's going and it's just Roman Cody only, right? I still don't put the title on Cody until SummerSlam. Couple reasons being. I think you need more time to tell the story to garner the injury, because you got two stories you need to tell with Cody. You need to garner the injury story, right? And you still haven't finished the I'm following, you know, the dream story. This is what, you know, for my dad, you know, story. I think that you could tell both of those between now and SummerSlam and still tinker with the SAMI Roman and have your payoff, your Roman Cody payoff, be SummerSlam where Cody bests him for the title, right? Because as far as title reigns and days of reigns, right now Roman is 5th all time. By SummerSlam, if my calculations were correct, he will be 4th all time, passing Pedro Morales. So if they still want to go with that, it's kind of an interesting thing, but it's a tease the treat thing, right? That is the perfect analogy, right? That I've heard Tommy come up with. Great shit, Tommy. Real quickly, let's run down some WrestleMania stuff here. As I alluded to, I will be driving, me, my wife, and my son, and 2 of our dogs. We're going to be driving to L.A. for WrestleMania, right? And the Busted Open Party. That's probably, WrestleMania is, you know, I'm more hyped for the Busted Open Party, brother, right? You want to see some people do something like record shit? Come to the Busted Open WrestleMania party, right, if you're in L.A. But I hear they're going to go ahead and push Cena versus Austin Theory, which is going to be cool. That'll help the career of Austin Theory because of the comparisons to John Cena. Not, you know, rapper, whatever, but the next guy, right? Brock versus Bobby Lashley. If they keep going, if they keep that story, and if that's the payoff is WrestleMania, in my opinion, the only match payoff for that would be in a fight pit. You don't put Brock and if you have Brock and Bobby at Mania and it's not in a fight pit, man, it's just a match. You can put that on the pre-show. For me. Looks like we're going to have a conclusion to the Edge Finn Balor. Could Edge go ahead and call it a career on his own terms? And what a way to finish the Judgment Day story, or do you keep it going? Who knows what Edge's body's like? You're going to have, obviously, Roman Cody or Roman SAMI. You're going to probably see the finish of the Dominic and Rey Mysterio story. Here's an interesting. If you don't continue Roman Cody, but somehow the Usos make up or whatnot. The outcome of that, the smoke clears of that after Elimination Chamber. Could you have KO and SAMI versus the Usos for the belts? Could be. Interesting thing. But the one guarantee that you will have, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And I'm calling it right here, right now, at 11:49 Central Standard Time on Sunday, February the 4th, right? Saturday, February 4th, sorry. Saturday, February 4th, 11:49 Central Standard Time. I am calling the shot. Rhea Ripley went pillar to post at WrestleMania, or at the Royal Rumble, to earn her shot. She called out Charlotte Flair. She's walking out of SoFi Stadium, your new SmackDown Women's Champion, right? I'm calling it now. That's guaranteed. Done deal. Count it, right? Real quickly before I get out of here, a couple shout outs and thank yous and, whatnots. As always, big shout out to SiriusXM, Satellite Radio, Channel 156, Fight Nation, Busted Open Radio, right? The Godfather, the Prince of ISPW, and your reigning and defending undisputed Georgia Championship Wrestling television champion, Dave LaGreca, the Godfather. He's got some of the hardest working producers behind the scenes in all of radio. Gabby, Paul, Andre, Ariel. If you call in, those are the ones that make the show go. They're just as important as the guys and girls in front of the mic. So give them love. The rest of the gang, Bully, Tommy, Mark Henry, Thunder Rosa, Mickey James, Tasha Steeles, Ryan McKinnell, Justin LaBar, anybody that's ever hosted that show. Big shout out to you guys. Check them out Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 11 Central Time, 9 to noon on the East Coast, Channel 156. I have it on my TV. I have it on my computer. I have it on my phone. I have it in my car. I love Busted Open Radio, which is, speaking of Busted Open, day 6 of the T-shirt challenge. Just so you know, Dave, if you are watching this or you do get word of this, I think I've got enough shirts to last all the way to Mania. Let you know. Got a lot of Bloodline coming, a lot of Steve Austin coming. But also, you want to check out LaGrecasRage.com. That's LaGrecasRage.com for some awesome hot sauce. Pick you up a couple bottles. You can get one autographed, put one in the cabinet to put on whatever you put hot sauce on and want to spice up. And you'll see it do some LaGreca shit. You'll see what makes Dave tick. That's LaGrecasRage.com. Also, if you're an avid coffee drinker, as I am myself, that's some damn good coffee. Go to richportcoffee.com and click on the drop-down box and click on Hardcore Coffee and support the landlord of the House of Hardcore, Tommy Dreamer. You can get you some bags, either already ground or you can get the bags in the bean form. That's richportcoffee.com. Click on the drop-down box, click on Hardcore Coffee, and get you some good coffee. Like I said, I'm an avid coffee drinker, and I get some all the time. Also, I want to say a big special thank you to the Nation's Corner crew. Check them out on YouTube. They do an awesome show every Saturday night. All the guys and gals, the members of Nation's Corner. People say, why would you give somebody else's YouTube channel and show a shout out, right? We're not in competition. We all love the same things. We all love pro wrestling. We're a community. We help each other. We give each other, big shout outs. So before I go, I want to leave you with this. Speaking of that, right? I was kind of down in the dumps a little lately, right? And you never know. I always have a saying I tell my kids. And I don't know if I'm the one to come up with it, or the smallest gesture can have the biggest impact, right? And I want to give a big special shout out to the guys and gal that was on the show tonight. Deb Housen, Steve from PA, Tony Justice, and my main man, Mongrovian Mike, right? Gave me big love out on their show tonight. I interacted in the chat with them. Had me post the link to my show, to this show. Man, it meant so much to me, y'all. I really do appreciate that. With that being said, we are about to get up out of here, y'all, right? I want to tell everybody to stay out there, be safe, love one another, be kind, do some random acts of kindness, watch some wrestling. Let's see what's going to happen when within the next week on AEW and Dynamite. Going to try to check them out a little bit more. Interested to check out what's going on in Impact Wrestling with Bully Ray and, you know, his interactions with Mickey James. Could we see a reappearance of Nick Aldis in Impact to come to Mickey's aid? Who knows? But I want to get up out of here. I want y'all to remember one thing. As always, if you're going to crash, always crash the canvas.